So in the last bull run, we literally tripled our whole crypto portfolio. However, we also gave most of it back when the markets came down because I was stupid and refused to take profits because I thought the markets would go higher. But luckily, after all, we did end up with some profits, but we could have made a shit ton more. And on this next cycle, we'll try to do the same and of course a little bit better. And I recently made a video sharing some of the key lessons that I have learned that I'm planning to follow in order to achieve that. So I thought to share this with you guys and hope you find it valuable. So crypto is often labeled as a scam by the media and they're advocating people to stay away from it. And meanwhile, the world's largest corporations and institutions are plowing millions of dollars into research and invest in this field, which is quite funny in my opinion. However, I do think there's some truth to this. And what do I mean is the fact that majority of the crypto projects out there, they don't really have any use case and have it turn out to be a scam. And I personally did learn this the hard way. And after I did manage to burn one of my first crypto portfolios, which was like 20 or 30K back then, if I remember right. And back then, I really didn't bother to do any research on the projects I was buying. And my go-to source for investment ideas and information was pretty much Discord, YouTube and Twitter. And whenever I saw a crypto project popping up and people shouting this name on Twitter, I basically look at the project's website, roadmap, and if it looked cool, I bought in. That's literally how it went. And I remember having like 20 or 30 different crypto projects in my portfolio, not knowing what most of them even did or whether they had a use case or not. I barely cared or even knew how to look below the surface level, like the project's team, tokenomics, community, the product, and so on. I started to also slowly realize that the majority of the crypto projects out there, they do promise a lot and look really good from the outside. But after you start diving into the specifics of the projects, they don't really look that great after all. And at the end of the day, building great products do take a shit ton of time, multiple years. And this is when most often quits. And obviously we don't want to put our hard-earned money into that kind of project, right? Along with that, the time when everybody's screaming the project's name on Twitter or Discord, it's most often way too late to buy in. Obviously now it's a little bit different because there's not much attention in crypto. So you can definitely come across great phenomenal buying opportunities, even if someone is preaching your name on Twitter or YouTube or Discord. But yeah, realizing the importance of doing proper research before buying in would have saved me a shit ton of money and headache. I also noticed that if I do buy into projects without doing any proper research first, I often do lack conviction. And when I lack conviction, I often start to make stupid mistakes when things get volatile. And as we know, crypto really likes to get volatile. So it's not a good combination. I do also think it's good to keep in mind that even though a project doesn't look the best at start, projects do evolve over time, especially if they have a great founding team. A mentor of mine called Sebastian told me something quite interesting, and the lesson went like this: build skills so you don't have to rely on the bull market for you to do financially well. And Sebastian, if you're watching this video, I appreciate you a lot. Thank you for teaching this lesson and many others. I love you. But yeah, to try this lesson home, I'll share a quick story. So for the first 2 years of my crypto journey, I pretty much relied only on crypto for me to do financially well and get wealthy. But during these first years, I started to slowly realize that catching those 10x, 100x plays that everybody's after, including myself in crypto and what got me into crypto, they really didn't happen that often as I like to believe. And even if I did manage to find one, which then later on turned out to be like a 10x or 100x, it was incredibly hard to be early on them without any insider info. And more importantly, it was and still is incredibly hard to ride the whole move because you had no idea how high the project could go. And when the project has already done like a 5x, 10x or even 20x, you most often do end up taking profits. Or at least that's what I did. And I think that's what any smart person would do. And when it's hard to do even once, it's also really hard to repeat. So after all, not that great of a game plan to rely on to do financially well, in my opinion. Soon after, I also came to the realization that most of crypto is actually more of those so-called boring gains, and the performance of many crypto projects is still heavily dependent on what Bitcoin does. And whether Bitcoin goes up or down is still heavily dependent on what the S&P 500 does. So what's the sentiment in the overall macro environment? And these are things we can't influence or control in any way. And if the macro environment decides to be bad, like it has been in the past couple of years, The markets can be really boring and difficult place to make any money. And if most of crypto is those so-called boring gains, I also realized that I would need a quite large portfolio for the returns to turn into meaningful. As an example, let's say I have like a 10K portfolio and I do get a 40% return on it for the first year, which is still really freaking good. That's like 4K in profits, which is not that great and wouldn't probably impact many of our lives that much. But on the other hand, let's say I have like a 500K portfolio and I get the same 40% return, which is again really fucking good and hard to repeat year after year. That's like 200K in profits, which would probably impact many of our lives a lot, right? This lesson really taught me that I was better off putting most of my time and attention into building my skills and then monetizing those skills. Because the returns from this are something I can control and affect in many ways. Basically, the more and bigger problems I solve, the more I often get paid. Rather than completely rely on crypto for me to do financial well, which is again something I can't affect or controlled in any way. But yeah, I'm still investing heavily into crypto, but the priority order ever since has changed for me. I think it's better off to put most of my time and attention into building my skills and then monetizing those skills. Because again, the returns are something I can control and affect in many ways. And it also helps bring that large liquidity of which I can then use to build that large portfolio. By the way, fun fact, if you look at some of the top crypto influencers like Elliot Trades, Alex Becker, Miles Deutscher, Hustlepedia, I would bet that most of the people do make most of their money from the business, not investing into crypto. But yeah. In the last crypto bull run, I made more money in 2 months than what I did in the previous 2 years. I also gained most of it back when the markets came down because I was stupid and refused to take profits because I was full of euphoria and thought the market would go higher. I thought these were just small dips and the project would recover, but most of them never did. Luckily, after all, I still did end up with some profits, but I could have made more. But yeah, that was the first year of my crypto journey, so in 2021, so about 4 years ago. I've learned a lot since then, and the way I approach crypto has completely changed. Like, I was one of the guys that used to jump from category to category, often based on what was hot at a specific time of the year. I also had like 20 or 30 different projects in my portfolio, and I really didn't know what most of them actually did, or whether they had a use case or not. I spent a lot of time reading Discord channels, Telegram channels, tweets, watching YouTube videos, mainly seeking the next hot crypto gem or seeking validation from others to the projects that I was holding. Now, a few years later, I realized that most of the things that I used to spend time on wasn't that important after all. I think at the end of the day, our job in crypto isn't to predict where the market goes next. Our job is to think in probabilities and make good bets on the few products that we have conviction on, and then go away and do something else to avoid ruining the compounding machine. I've noticed that crypto and investing in general is one of the games where the less you do, often the better you perform. These days, I like to focus on 1 or 2 crypto categories that I'm interested in and believe will have a use case in future. I spend most of my time focusing on crypto gaming and now dabbling into AI just for fun, and I pretty much ignore everything else. Within these categories, I like to bet on talented founders and basically let them do what they're built to do, aka give the product some time. So if I come across a product that is really good and are constantly delivering on their promises, I like to hold it for months to years. There's really no point of selling and ruining the compounding machine. The only time I would sell is if the product stop delivering on their promises, or I think it's getting overvalued, or I have better place for the capital. Otherwise, I just hold. I've also noticed that when you find a project with talented founders, often the other things also fall into place. So the tokenomics, the community, the product, the marketing. Therefore, the founding team and the experience is one of the first things I like to look at when researching a project. Obviously, this isn't always the case, so I think it's still kind of important to vet those points. And even if a project ticks all those boxes and looks really good, many projects have crazy valuations, and I've recently come across multiple projects like that I just can't justify investing in them. Especially new categories like AI, for example, which is something that's really hot right now. Every project with the word AI in it seems to go crazy and have these crazy market cap. What makes this a little bit harder than these new categories like AI, for example, it's something that's completely new and we haven't had such tech in the past. So it's really hard to value that kind of projects because what do you base it on? For other things like crypto gaming, it's a little bit easier because we have had such projects for multiple years and we have seen what the market likes to evaluate those products. But in the last bull in 2020 or 2021, we had the same issue as we're dealing with AI right now because crypto gaming was something completely new back then. AI is basically in price discovery right now. In a nutshell, I realized that 80% of the things that used to spend time on really don't matter that much, and it's better to focus on things that we can control and pretty much ignore everything else. And I've noticed that the only things we can really control is the one or two categories we choose to focus on. Our level of knowledge inside those categories has a lot to do with the source of information and time we spend to feed this knowledge. Also, of course, the timing and sizing we use to buy/sell into these projects that we have conviction on. And at the end of the day, I think catching a few quality projects is really all you need to do incredibly well in crypto. So why bother complicating? And especially if you're doing research alone or with a friend and don't have a team behind you, it's literally impossible to stay on top of multiple categories and catch multiple early projects. It's like trying to run multiple businesses at the same time, which is extremely hard. The valuation of crypto gaming is like 30 billion right now. The valuation of AI is a little bit higher. It's like 35 billion. Still, these entire market caps are almost the same size as one meme coin, like Doge, for example, which is ridiculous. I think within these categories there is and will rise projects with great fundamentals and will most likely run hard, especially as the market seems to be recovering and, for example, the interest rates are going down, and people knowing that the interest rates have peaked on the way down will probably unlock a lot of new capital to the market. And I think many investors don't want to miss out on this and do want to have an allocation on this asset class. And the only way to be early and benefit from this adoption wave is to stay alert and be dialed in and then make good and big bets when great projects come on your way. So guys, I have a cool lesson that I learned from Crypto Mastermind, so I thought to share this with you guys. And the lesson went like this. The biggest winners of crypto will not be the traders, holders, it will be the builders. So people who build valuable products for the marketplace that in exchange gets you paid. The more and bigger problems you solve, the more you often get paid. If you look at some of the top crypto influencers like Alex Becker, Elliot Trades, Hustlepedia, Miles Deutscher, hope I spelled his name correctly, I would bet that they have made and will keep making most of their money from the online business, not crypto. This was also a common theme I noticed after spending some time with the guys and girls that were doing incredibly well inside the few crypto masterminds that I'm part of. Many of them had a high income job and a business that was doing incredibly well, which was their primary source of income, not crypto. Now, I'm a big fan of crypto, and I do think there will be some categories / narratives that will do incredibly well, for example, crypto gaming or AI. But if you look at the big picture, where I personally spend most of my time on during weekdays, and also many of the guys and girls inside the mastermind that were doing well do spend their time on, crypto is just a small portion of their weekly schedule. For example, nowadays I don't really follow the crypto news. I really don't draw any technicals to the charts because I'm not a technical investor, and I also don't obsess over the next hot crypto thing and trying to find the next 100x projects all the time. I just like to bet big on the few projects that I really understand and have conviction on, and then I try to go away to do something else to avoid ruining the compounding machine. And when I go away and do something else, those things are usually business and work related, because the outcomes I get from that are fully in my control. The more and bigger problems you solve, the more you often get paid, compared to crypto, which is something we can't influence or control in any way. Crypto is still heavily influenced by what the S&P 500 does, or what's the sentiment in overall macro environments. And if the macro environment doesn't happen to be that great, which has been the case for the past 2 years, the markets can be really hard place to make any money. And again, there's little or none we can really do to affect any of that. It's outside of our control. Many of you probably watching this channel doesn't want to build a business because it's a really fucking hard thing to do. But the lesson I'm trying to make here, which is something that took me a way too long to understand, is the fact that crypto alone probably won't make you that wealthy. There's little to none we can do to affect a specific crypto project price. They are totally out of our control. And second, I've noticed that obsessing over the crypto news or scrolling through social media, Twitter, YouTube, Discord, Telegram channels in order to find the next hot crypto projects probably isn't the best use of our time, and do often end up leaving us even more confused, or at least that's what happened to me. And at the end of the day, I think crypto is one of the rare spots where the less you do, often the better you perform. However, I do think that crypto combined with high income can really make someone wealthy. I think crypto alone won't make a switch, but crypto combined with high income, it can. And there's this one guy in Crypto Mastermind I'm still part of that really helped me understand this lesson. So Sebastian, if you're watching this video, thank you a lot. I really appreciate you. And to drive this lesson home, I'll share a quick story. When I first got into crypto between 2020 and 2021, my game plan was literally just to find a few 100x projects, then repeat that few times, and I'd be set for life. About half a year into my journey, I started to realize that this was a little bit more difficult than what I expected. The difficult thing wasn't getting into crypto projects early. The difficult thing was getting into great crypto projects early that would later on do well. It is incredibly hard to predict which projects will take off and when. And when just hitting it home one time or catching a great project once is hard, it's also really hard to repeat. So it wasn't that great of a game plan to rely on getting wealthy. And again, months went by, I still didn't give up. I still tried to find the next hot crypto gen, scrolling all these Twitter, Discord, Telegram channels, because I thought still that crypto was about finding those things and I'd be set for life. I didn't want to give up on the idea. And I did manage to catch a few 2x, 5x projects, which was great considering it was my first year in crypto journey. But that was about it, and it was mostly due to the fact that there was this crazy bull market and money printing in 2020 and 21 caused all these asset classes to go crazy. And anyways, those returns didn't turn out to be anything meaningful because I didn't have much money invested then, because I just simply didn't have and couldn't put the money back then. Again, months went by, but I slowly started to realize that the problem wasn't the fact that I wasn't doing the right things. Like, I was focusing on the right things and improving as an investor. But the problem was, majority of the crypto projects prices out there, they are heavily dependent on what Bitcoin does. And again, whether Bitcoin goes up or down, it's still heavily dependent on what's happening in the S&P 500 and what's the sentiment in the overall macro environment. And those are things we literally can't control and affect in any way. And even if Bitcoin was behaving well and the sentiment in the macro environment was really good, I would say 98% of crypto is still more about those so-called boring gains. Of course, there are special situations when a new narrative comes up. There are these projects that do 10x, 100x, but those are at the big picture quite rare. I think the core reason why most of crypto is this so-called boring games is the fact that it takes of time for these crypto companies to build great products that would then attract users, which would then bring attention to the project and its coin price. It's a hard thing to do, and after all, like 90% of the crypto projects that we are currently seeing right now, like they won't be here after 5 years, they will fail. So when I personally started to put all this together, I started to realize that maybe crypto alone wasn't the greatest game plan to rely on getting wealthy. Another thing I realized that when most of crypto is those so-called boring gains, of course they're a little bit better than in like the traditional stock market, we need a quite large portfolio for the returns to turn anything meaningful. For example, let's say you have this $10,000 portfolio and you get like a 60% return on the first year of your crypto journey, which is still great and really hard to repeat for multiple years. You now made 6K in profits, which wouldn't probably affect your life that much, right? On the other hand, let's say you have a 1 million portfolio and you get like a 15% return, which is far more repeatable and sustainable for year after year. So you make a 15% return the first year, you're up like 150,000, which would probably impact your life in many ways. Now, if we jump back to the first year of my crypto journey, after realizing this, I started to also realize that I would need a large income coming in every month, be able to build a large portfolio considerably fast, because if you're able to put aside few $100s a month, it's going to take ages to build a 1 million, 2 million portfolio. And not any of us want to wait 40 to 50 years before we'll be doing financial well, right? To get that highly monthly income, I started to also realize that I would either need a high income job or business that would do well. If you look at the top crypto guys like Alex Becker, Elliot Trades, or Miles Deutscher, hope I didn't butcher his name, they all have something they are building. And I would bet that they make most of their money from the thing they are building, so their business, compared to just by purely investing into crypto coins. This was also a common theme and one of the first things I noticed in many of these crypto masterminds that I joined back then, and I'm still part of. Many of these guys and girls with multi-7-figure portfolios, they often had already a business that was doing incredibly well or high income job before they even got into crypto, which would then allow them to plow multiple thousands a month to the projects they had the most conviction on. And more importantly, I noticed that because of this, they could give the investments enough time to prove themselves and let the compounding do the work, and also not freak out when volatile times came in crypto, because crypto wasn't their primary source of income or the way they paid their bills. But yeah, the biggest earners I've personally ever come across in this space, and the people who have had the biggest leaps, have been the people who are building things that create enormous value in the marketplace, and that has been the primary thing that they have been focusing on. And the bigger and more problems you solve, the more you often get paid. And thank you to Charlie Morgan, one of my first mentors, who really helped me understand this lesson. Luckily, there are many things we can do to create value in this marketplace and then get paid and get our income job. And as many of these people watching this channel are probably crypto enthusiasts, I will use that as an example. You could build an audience and they'll sell ad space to crypto brands, or you could use that audience to launch your own product, or you could work for a crypto company. Anyways, the first year of my crypto journey really taught me that I think we should first invest into ourselves and the things we are building before we look into investing into some other people, so some other people crypto projects. Because when we invest into ourselves or the things we are building, the returns are far more predictable and controllable. I think our earning potential is in basically direct correlation between cost and effects. So the more and bigger problems you solve, the more you get paid. Unlike investing into some other people's crypto projects, there's little or none you can do to affect the return you're gonna get. The biggest barrier, I think, for many will be, and at least was for me, the fact that we know we have to put quite a bit of time and work to get the thing working. When you start working on your thing, you have to deal with this continuous uncertainty of whether the thing will work or not. I realized that when you get into this journey and you, for example, start building a business, you have to acquire so many skills like sales, marketing, how to build a product. These skills take years to learn, especially if you don't have a background in them. And there can and will be times where you potentially won't see any financial returns on the thing you are doing, which can make it really devastating and hard to continue working on. But the cool thing I've noticed that when you master and develop these so-called high income skills, you will have them rest for your life, and there's really no one that can take them away from you. And as long as this world keeps breathing and the economy keeps growing, there will be demand for these skills. And whenever you need money, you can tap into your skills. After all, I think we men are the happiest when we are building things that we find meaningful, when we crush obstacles and challenges. Like, progress makes us feel alive, so what better thing we have to do? Luckily, life is not binary, so I think you can still do both. So you can build things and invest in the crypto projects, because I've noticed that managing upkeeping your investments, they don't after all require that much time. But I think the priority of order should be really considered. So which one of these things you spend most of your time on? So crypto gaming is a category we're investing heavily in, mainly because we think it will be one of the biggest onboarders of new users into crypto. And we also think it will work as the top of the funnel, aka the trailer that gets people through the doors. We can do a little bit of trying here. So here's the trailer. Here are some people. Sorry for my trying skills, they are not that great. This is the door of the crypto. So crypto gaming will work as a trailer that will show people through the doors of crypto, who then later on get introduced into other categories like layer 1s, Zcash rollups, or DeFi. The same happened when internet got mass adoption. Gaming was one of the biggest contributors on that. The only challenge which I think many of the crypto gaming projects are struggling with is providing enough use case / utility to get people interested, and more importantly, play the games. But if we look at the traditional gaming market right now, about 40% of the world's population do play some sort of games in either mobile, PC or console. And this is almost 4 billion people. And this also represents like 250 billion markets, which is growing each year because of the younger generation that really like to play games. When some of the crypto gaming companies do manage to deliver on this use case / utility obstacle, I really think a big portion of this 250 billion, also the almost 4 billion people that play games, they're gonna transition into crypto. One of the great use cases that many of the crypto gaming companies are really trying to tackle and build on is NFTs. Oops, like that. And to give you an example why many of the crypto gaming companies are really building on NFTs, so I think why they're building on NFTs, is because out of the 250 billion of the traditional gaming markets, about 100 billion of that comes from virtual items, like skins, for example. But the problem is right now, if you own a skin in these traditional games, you can't trade it, rent it, sell it, or transfer it to another game when you decide to change games or quit. With NFTs, you can do all of them and much more. And if we already have 100 billion virtual item economy existing, I really wonder what will the economic valuation be in the future when these in-game items evolve to the next era, so to the NFTs and blockchain tech.
I think this gaming economy thing could really become a multi-trillion-dollar thing in 10 years, 15 years. And crypto gaming will likely represent a big portion of that. Right now, the market cap of crypto gaming is like, let's see, I don't know, 35 billion. And what makes this really funny is that it's almost the same valuation of some meme coin like Dogecoin, 30 billion. Like the entire market cap of crypto gaming is almost the same size as one meme coin, which is insane. But yeah, I don't know what the valuation of crypto gaming will be in the next few years, but I surely think or believe it will be more than one or two meme coins. And as a side note, I really don't understand why some of these meme coins have such a crazy valuations. Like if someone knows, please tell me, because they really don't have any use case, to be honest. But still, people seem to put their money into it. But I think we really want to have coins that have a use case. So people will actually hold the coins and the price could be something meaningful in the future. Because if the coin's price is purely based on hyper speculation, people will sell when they're in a little bit of profit because they know there's really nothing else that will drive or keep driving the price up. I think one great example is Solana. Let's see if we can find Solana. There it is. One of the most scalable, reliable and cheapest layer ones out there, where a lot of the smart people are building on right now. And the ecosystem is evolving in a really fast speed. And therefore, we haven't seen much selling pressure in the past year or so. Now, I don't own Solana and we could have many opinions about the valuation of 22 billion. But I think valuating new tech like Solana or AI, for example, it's incredibly hard because we haven't had such tech in the past and we really don't know what is capable in the future. So what do you base it on? But when a project has a use case and people know it has a use case, people will hold their holdings and refuse to sell. And this is when we see price appreciation like Solana. Let's cover a few projects that we are invested to because I promised in the beginning of the video. And one of them is Vulcan Forged. And by the way, as a disclaimer, oh, not this one. As a disclaimer, I suggest you do not invest into any of these. I am not a financial advisor. I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know if these are great projects. You should do your own due diligence. I'm just a guy trying to make some money. I think these projects could head up in the future. But yeah, Vulcan Forge. We had a lot of Vulcan Forge in the last cycle. I think our average buy point back then was like $8 or $9, and we did manage to sell a lot of them in this peak, but not at the highest top because I don't know anyone that really catch the top. But we also left some holdings during this last cycle and we took some big losses on the way down because we been in the bear market the past few years. So in hindsight, I should have sold all of them, but you didn't know. But we also bought a lot more during these past few years. And I think our average buy point right now is like $4 and we've seen some steady gains. But it's a project I'm planning to hold for multiple years and I really like the CEO, Jamie Thompson, and Vulcan Forge team. They're building big things, like they're building a launchpad right now on Elysium, on the layer 1 blockchain, which they launched recently. But yeah, they have multiple games. One of them is quite cool. I might do a whole video of Vulcan Forge later on. Another great gaming project that I recently bought in is Moon Summer. Oops, let's try to find it. This one. It's a little bit smaller one. It's like 9 million market cap right now. And the fully diluted is, let's see, 17 million, which is great ratio, not that many locked tokens. Summer is a project built by Donny. Let's see if I can find the guy. Really smart guy. I've been following this on Twitter for multiple years. He is the main builder of this project. There are a couple other guys on this team as well that I've been following on Twitter. Really cool guys. And one of the main reasons why I invested in this, because I really believe that these guys can pull this really good game off. And also the second reason, because of the valuation of 9 million market. I think we could be quite early on this. I don't know. We'll see. No one knows. They're also building a cool game, which is, let me see if I can find it. Tremica. So Moonsummer previously had multiple games, like Wild Summer, Pond Summer. There were some other games as well with these funny names. But I heard that they recently, or a few months ago, decided to pause those and fully focus on this Tremica, which is looking quite cool, to be honest. Let's see if we can see in it. I don't know why this is black, but it looks quite cool in my opinion. And there's the first alpha releasing in I think it's like 25 days. Really interesting to see how this goes. One thing that I'm also looking at right now is launchpads, because I like to invest into new and early projects, simply because I think many of them have way better risk to reward than many of these bigger projects. Summer is not an example of bigger projects, it's a small one, but these projects with these 500 million market caps, 1 billion, 2 billion market caps. Obviously these newer projects, they require more time and research to put into them, but I think, or I know in the end it pays off with these quite is games sometimes. And one way to get early in these games is by using launchpads. So for example, Seedify or Bytes, great example. And also now Vulcan Forge, because they have their own launchpad on Elysium. So when a new project is launching, they usually raise capital through different launchpads in form of IDO, as known as initial legs offering. And if you're an investor in a launchpad, for example, Bytes, for Bytes you need X amount of bytes, and I believe you need the NFTs as well, which are quite expensive right now. But if you have them, you might get an allocation on these new projects. And you are able to buy at the project's launch price, which is really early. But I think it's good to keep in mind that many of these newer projects that are launching and just raising capital on these launch pads, they are really new and will probably fail. Many of them, even 90%, and won't be here after 5 years. But again, I think we will see some of the projects succeed as well and pull those 10x, 20x's. But of course, it requires more time and research to put into them, because there are plenty of shit projects as well. But I think if you have the time and you can put the effort in, it really can pay off in the future. But yeah, many of these launch pads allocation setups, or how much you get allocated into each new project, it really varies and depends on usually how much you have invested in the launchpad and also how long have you been a holder or staker. But yeah, I think we're living really interesting times right now. I think the younger generation really wants to own crypto, NFTs and tech stocks. And they're not that interested in buying gold, bonds or bank stocks. I think they want some native to the digital economy they grew up in, because that's what they really understand. Many of them also grew up by playing games. So probably crypto gaming and NFT assets are something many of them do want to own in the future. So yeah, crypto gaming is one of the categories we primarily invest in, and we pretty much ignore everything else, because I think one good category is all you need to do incredibly well. And I know, but of course no one knows what will happen, and we'll see in the future. And also the bear market that we saw in the past 1.5 years or 2 years, I think it was a really good thing for crypto. I think the hype and speculation on this last cycle, it got way too ahead of the reality. So now we have had some time for the fundamentals to catch up. And at the end of the day, all new innovation cycles, they start highly speculative. And I think the hype and speculation of crypto, the last bubble we saw, it definitely wasn't a bad thing for crypto, because it gave many crypto projects the funding to take the innovations further. And looking back, we are much ahead than we were like 4 years ago right now. And now many of these projects have had their time to catch up. The markets are recovering. I think we'll be living really interesting times in the next few years. And also people knowing that the interest rates have peaked and are on the way down, I think that's going to unlock lots of new cash to the markets.
So I spent about 15k in total to join 3 different crypto masterminds over the past 2 and 3 years. I decided to make this quick video to share some of the key lessons I have learned being part of these masterminds and also being in crypto for 4 years now. So I have my notes here on my phone, and we can start from the first lesson. And that is, majority of the low risk and high reward plays can often be found outside the top 100 list. And this brings us to the point that why market caps matter. Like if you look at the top 100 list in CoinMarketCap, those are the largest projects by market cap. So let's say there's a project called X, it has 10 billion market cap, it's ranked 50 in the top 100 list. You could say it's going to 20 billion market cap or 30 billion market cap, so 2x or 3x. But the likelihood for that to happen is really low. It would require an insane amount of money to flow into that project to pull the 2x or 3x because of the market cap that's already so high. And in the other hand, the project could drop tenfold, so from 10 billion to 1 billion market cap. We've seen many projects drop from the top 100 lists multiple times. So the risk to reward in many of these top 100 list projects just isn't there, in my opinion. There's often a reason why these projects get to these top 100 lists, so they are considered as safe and quality projects, but that isn't always the case. So instead, what I like to do, and many of the guys in the mastermind, we like to focus on projects outside the top 100 list. So projects that are considered new or projects that haven't even been launched yet, because those kind of projects often offer a way better risk reward. Of course, it requires more time to research of these projects, because there are a ton of new projects coming out every month, and also vast majority of the new projects won't be here after 5 years. Like 95% of them will fail. So it does require time and research. I think, and I know, if you're willing to do the research and put some focus in, let's say, 1 or 2 categories, I think you can really come across plenty of good projects that you can put your money into that offer way better risk reward compared to these top 100 list projects. And this leads us to the second lesson, which is You can get an edge by focusing only on one category only. And what I mean with this, that is, it's incredibly hard to make more money than the average investor in crypto. Because if you're following the law and not trading with any insider info, you're all working with the same information. However, if you spend your time focusing only on one or two categories and spending years of honing your skills there and studying the market, you most likely will have a little bit more information than the average investor. And that dialed in focus also allows you to stay on top of your focus category, aka you can buy into quality projects much more earlier than many of the other investors because you know what's happening and where to look. And also you are able to judge new projects considerably fast, so whether they're good or bad investments. And that will show in your portfolio, or at least that's what I've noticed. I've also noticed that many people come into crypto, they often like to jump from category to category, often based on what's hot at that specific time of the year. But what this usually leads to is they're not getting that created value in projects in any of these categories. And value in projects is one of the most crucial skills you can have in crypto. And I've noticed that in the first year of my crypto journey, I burned like 40 to 50k, my hard-earned savings. Also, we know that crypto likes to go up and down quite a bit. It's quite volatile. But when you are dialed in your own crypto category that you have a lot of conviction on, that conviction really helps you to stay calm because you've done your research and you have an ultimate conviction on the projects that you're holding. So some swings here and there doesn't really affect you that much. And if you choose a really good crypto category, I think that's all you need to do incredibly well. So why bother complicating it and jumping on different categories or trying to focus on multiple categories? That's like trying to run multiple businesses at the same time, which is really hard. The third lesson I have learned is that crypto alone won't make you rich, but combined with high income can. And to drive this home, I'll share a quick story. So when I started in crypto, my game plan was just to plow a few $1,000s into a few projects that will do 100x and I will be set for life. Because we all know that crypto is known for projects that do 10x, 100x or 1000x. So it's a place to get rich fast, right? But after spending shit ton of time in crypto, I have realized that that isn't the case most of the time. What I didn't realize until later is that finding those 100x plays or 1000x plays is incredibly hard, and therefore they're also really hard to repeat. Those kind of things tend to be one-off hits, and even if somehow you would catch a 100x play, you would probably take profits at 3x or 4x or 5x. I've realized that most of crypto is those boring gains, you could call. Of course, they are not boring if we compare them to traditional stock markets, but they're boring for many crypto people. But in order for those boring gains, so let's say you make 50% a year or 60% a year, which is still really good and really hard to repeat for multiple years, you do need quite a bit of money to plow into your portfolio to make any reasonable gains. I've noticed that the snowball really starts to compound, make impact on your life when you have a large portfolio. And in order to build that large portfolio, we need to have a high income coming in so we can plow multiple thousands in the projects that we have the most conviction. Being able to only invest a few $100s a month, it will take ages to build a large portfolio. And we obviously don't want to wait 40 to 50 years to become wealthy, right? I learned this specific lesson quite early in my crypto journey, but I really understood it when I joined this mastermind and spent time with these people that had large portfolios and were making a bunch of money in crypto. What I noticed that many of these guys and gals that had these large portfolios in the mastermind, many of them were doing quite well before they even got into crypto. So they had a high income job or online business that was doing well, which then allowed them to plow tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars into the projects they had the most conviction. And more importantly, stay really calm because crypto wasn't their primary source of income. And they kept doing that for multiple years, which then got the compounding machine run like crazy. Fourth lesson is that if there's blood in the streets, don't flinch, just buy. Time and time again, when the sentiment is the worst, these have proven to be in the best times to buy. And I think this is related to the saying that goes like, most of the money is made in bear markets, you just collect it in bull market. And this buy low and sell high sounds so simple, but yet we people don't do it. We get back to the markets when everything is green and pumping and everybody's in full of euphoria, and that isn't the time when we should be looking into what things to buy. And we can completely flip this thing as well. So if there is full euphoria in the market, like meme coins with insane valuations, just like we saw in the last bull. Also, great indication is when popular YouTubers like Elliot Trades or Alex Becker are getting millions of views regardless of the video quality, or Coinbase ranking the top spots in the most downloaded apps in the App Store. If we see that kind of crazy euphoria, I think that's
good time to take some profit. And I did a big mistake on that on the last cycle. I didn't take enough profits. But yeah, simple stuff, but fear and greed can do crazy things to the human mind. Fifth lesson, this is more specific one, but I learned this from Hasib from Dragonfly Capital, and it was quite interesting one, so I thought to share it. And this relates to finding the best crypto layer ones. So layer ones are like cities, like Ethereum for example. It is expensive, or the biggest brands, institutions, people are building on it. Everybody knows what's Ethereum. Ethereum is like New York City. And then there are other cities that are way less popular, expensive, like Polkadot. And what has worked well for us in choosing the best layer ones to invest in, because we are focused on crypto gaming and there are also a lot of layer ones in crypto gaming, is by looking at the data where the smartest people are building, because that will most likely be the place where the best applications will be. And those applications are what brings users to the layer ones. And the layer one with the best applications and most users will most likely appreciate in price quite well. Then the sixth lesson, I don't have enough fingers because there's phone in my other hand, but that is networking. I underestimated the power of networking in crypto. Like I used to do just research and grind on projects by myself, but later I noticed that it's actually way more fun and easier with bunch of other people, and most often these other people already had answers to many of the obstacles that you were struggling with, especially if you managed to group up with people that were way ahead of you. And this is when, for example, I personally started to really make progress. This of course can also keep you accountable in your daily tasks, but yeah, if executed right and you can find the right group, you can literally become like a powerhouse together. And then the last lesson to end this video, and that is related to predicting coin prices. So predicting coin prices is a waste of time. And to drive this home, I'll share a quick story. So when I was starting out, I used to spend a lot of time trying technicals to the chart, reading tweets, watching YouTube videos of people trying to predict where the coin I was invested to could head in the future. But the reality is, no one really knows what the coin price could be in 2 years or 4 years. Not even the brightest economists in the world can predict the next quarter inflation rate. So how could anyone in Twitter or YouTube, including myself, predict the coin price of, let's say, a Shiba Inu in 2 years? The reality is no one knows. I think the best thing we can do is just to buy quality projects that we have conviction on. Sometime hop into dollar cost average into them and hop into verify that the projects are still delivering on their promises. And then in the meanwhile, we can go away and do something else to avoid ruining the compounding machine. But yeah, this is just my opinion. And of course, if you're trading, this might be a little bit different. I assume most of the people watching these videos are more long-term holders, just like myself. So I think spending too much time obsessing over coin prices of what they could be in the future, or trying technical to charts, or spending time reading the news, it's not that productive.
So who wants to wait for 40 to 50 years before they will be doing financial well? I personally don't, and I do think that's the same reason why many stumble into crypto, because that's the place to get rich fast, right? There are multiple projects doing 10x, 100x, or even 1000x, so you can just throw a couple thousand there, repeat that a couple of times, and you are basically set for life. This was literally my game plan coming to crypto about 4 years ago, but about half a year into my journey, I started to realize that this was a little bit more harder than I expected. The hardest thing wasn't getting the crypto project early. The hardest thing was getting the great crypto projects early that would later on turn out to do well. Back then it was, and still this day, incredibly hard to tell which crypto projects will take off and when. I did manage to catch a few 2x or 5x crypto projects, if I do remember right, which was still really great considering it was my first year of my crypto journey. But that was about it, and it was between 2020 and 2021, so the crazy crypto bull markets, and I would say that most of the gains or 2x, 3x or 5x projects that I did manage to catch, it was caused by the crazy bull markets, not the fact that I was a great investor. And at the end of the day, those returns, like dollar and euro wise, didn't turn out into anything meaningful because I couldn't put much money into them back then. But yeah, about 6 or 7 months into my crypto journey, I started to slowly realize the performance of many of the crypto projects were heavily dependent on what the Bitcoin does. And again, whether Bitcoin goes up or down, it was, and still this day, heavily dependent on what the S&P 500 is doing, or what's the sentiment in the overall macro environment. And these are things we can't influence or control in any way. And also around the same time, I would say 3 or 4 months after, I started to also notice that most of crypto is actually more of those so-called boring gains. So they are not those 10x, 100x or 1000x things as many like to believe. Now these might and do happen often couple times a year when the narrative changes, and of course if the macro environment is good. Other than that, 90 6% of crypto is more of those so-called boring gains. Because it takes a shit ton of time for all these crypto companies to build great products and then attract users and attention into the crypto project and its coin price. Those 10x, 100x things that many are after, including myself when I came into crypto, they are really hard to catch and be early on them without any insider info, and more importantly, ride the whole move, because what any sane person would do is take profits at like 3x or 5x. Another thing I've noticed that if crypto is actually more of those so-called boring gains, we do need a quite large portfolio for the returns to turn into anything meaningful and start having impact in our lives. For example, let's say you have like 10k portfolio and you get like 40% return on it on the first year, which is still really fucking good and hard to repeat for multiple years. That's like 4k in profits and wouldn't probably impact your life that much, right? On the other hand, let's say you have 1 million portfolio and you get a 15% return, so 1.5. That would turn out to be like 150k in profits, which would probably impact your lives. But yeah, obviously to build that kind of portfolio considerably fast, we do need a high income. So to be able to put multiple thousands or even tens of thousands a month to investments, put like a few $100s a month to our investments, it's gonna take that 40 to 50 years before we'll be doing financial well. This is why I have noticed that building a business or acquiring a high income job is a really big portion of doing well in crypto. And if you look at some of the top crypto influencers like Alex Becker, Elliot Trades, Miles Deutscher, Puzzlepedia, this is exactly what they do. And I would bet that they do spend most of the time on their business side of things, not crypto. And also I would bet that this is where they have and will keep making most of the money on. This is also a common theme I noticed by being part of few crypto masterminds and observing some of the guys and girls that were doing really well. Business or their high income job was and still is the thing that they do spend most of the time on, because that is something they can fully control. The more and bigger problems you solve, the more you often get paid. Talking about crypto is just a way for them to have some fun and of course multiply some of their earnings. And for some, that's even their business.
So I've been in crypto about 4 years now, and we have been early investor in projects like Cadena, Altura, Vulcan Forge, and we have made a decent amount of money, but we have also lost quite some and destroyed few crypto portfolios, which had a lot to do with the places and people where I got my investment knowledge and investment ideas from, which I'm gonna share in this video, so hopefully you won't make the same mistakes. So 2020-21, the first year of my crypto journey, I spent this year mainly gathering my knowledge and investment ideas from free content, so reading tweets, watching YouTube videos, Discord channels, Telegram channels, and so on. This was a great place to start from because I wouldn't have discovered the importance of the last 2 points if I wouldn't have experienced this in my journey. And also they were free, which was a really good thing because I really didn't have that much extra money to spend back then. So a few months in, I made some progress. I had like 15 different crypto projects in my portfolio. The markets were green, everything was pumping. I thought this is easy to make money in crypto. Why I didn't discover this before? But then the markets turn around and you can guess what happens. I soon realized that the problem with this so-called free approach was the fact that I often have to go through a ton of information to find the one thing that I was looking for. So if I'm here, this is like a social media maze, and here's the one piece of information I was trying to find. So I had to go through all this content to just find the one piece of information that I was looking for. And this made progressing really, really slow. And also the stuff here, like 95% of the stuff here in the social media maze, they are not that useful at all. And I often did end up getting just more confused than I was to begin with. On top of that, there are also people that get paid to say things, which messed up things a little bit more. I also noticed at the time when the information came public, so as an example, YouTube made a video about crypto project. It was often way too late to buy in. However, I do still think that in these YouTube videos and all the tweets and Discord channels, Telegram channels, all the free content out there, you can gather all the information you need to do incredibly well in crypto. And for me personally, it is still a small part where I get my investment ideas and knowledge from. But now in hindsight, I've discovered that there are things that can make the crypto learning curve a little bit faster and easier, which leads us to the second point. 21, 23, the time of crypto masterminds, research groups, and network groups. It was around this time when I decided to join one of my first crypto masterminds. I did have experience on this mastermind concept from my marketing times. We used to do a lot of social media marketing for music artists. Charlie Morgan was one of my first mentors, and he taught me a lot about marketing back in the days. So Charlie, if you're watching this video, I love you. So I kind of knew how these masterminds and networking groups work. So I thought that if I could find the right group for crypto, it would really help me take me forward. And to be completely honest, I still haven't to this day found a crypto mastermind slash research slash networking group that I really like and had all the things that I would wish for, which annoys me and is one of the reasons why I've been thinking of building one in the future, but we'll see. This specific crypto mastermind that I joined back then, it was good. I'm really grateful for the lessons that I learned. I think I paid like 4K to join back in 21, and this is when things got really interesting. I got access to people with 6-figure or 7-figure portfolios that were way ahead of me, which was a really good thing for me. One of the first things I noticed after joining the mastermind is that the quality of information was much higher because one, these guys were way more experienced, and second, they really didn't bother to talk if they had nothing useful to say. And I really liked this because it helped me keep my head much clearer, and also finding things that I was looking for became much easier. And many of them already had answers to many of the obstacles that I was struggling with. So I could just use the search function or ask a question in the chats whenever I had an obstacle, and then I could get an answer and solve that obstacle and move the next one. Then I could solve that obstacle, and this made the crypto learning curve for me a lot faster. Or this also helped me see my blind spots, which I couldn't spot myself, and also it became much more fun and easier because you had these like-minded people you could network with and be in the journey together rather than figuring out and grinding every information out by yourself. Now looking back, the best thing wasn't the fact that I did reach my goals faster, so I got from point A to point B faster. Of course, it was great, but it was more about the paradigm, so the way of thinking I adopted from these people. For example, how they made their investment decisions, on what categories and why, how they viewed the macro environment, how they got into projects early, and what kind of things they were looking for. Obviously, not all groups are great, and I haven't had experience with bad one as well. But I think if you can find the right one and right people, you can literally become like a powerhouse together. Then the last point, 23 and onwards, so this is still continuing for me, and this is the most important one. And I've only really understood this recently and still trying to figure out things regarding this. But it's about think for yourself. Like I've already spent years in crypto and burned through different crypto portfolios and seeing how the big wigs play the game, like many of you also probably have. So we know what to do and we often have all the information to make those decisions. And yet we humans like to avoid decision making to the last split and keep searching for these golden nuggets from other people, from masterminds, networking groups, social media and so on, or try to get validation from other people from the things that we are doing. We often deal with this perfectionism, like is this going to be the right decision? Like who knows? If it takes us closer to the goal, it probably can't be too wrong. I don't think we humans need to be snipers. We just need to be direction right and we'll eventually get to our goal. And there are different ways to get this specific goal, and some things take you there a little bit faster than others. And doing better or making more money, just basically doing more of the things that are already working. And in crypto specific case, so let's say you buy into a project normally with 10K, you buy in with 50K. So we often know what to do, but we just don't do it. And this is something that took me personally really long to understand, and still trying to comprehend how simple it is to actually do better or make more money, but we like to overcomplicate it. So it's not often about trying to find and test new things, it's more about doing better and with more volume of the things that are already working. But yeah, we went a little bit off topic there, but back to the think for yourself topic that we're discussing about. I think that has a lot to do with just asking yourself simple questions, because we often have the answers and know what to do, especially if we've been in the game for long enough. Another example, crypto has been really volatile the past few years, and it's been like an emotional roller coaster for many, including myself. When I'm on such an emotional roller coaster, I like to dig deep and ask myself questions like, has new information come up that invalidates my investment thesis? If not, cool, I keep holding. If new information has come up, for example, there's a project that has stopped delivering on the promises, or there's something happening in the macro environment, I think it's completely okay to change your mind. The worst thing we can do is to change our mind and not do anything about it. There's plenty of new crypto projects coming out every month, but if you're dialed in one or two crypto categories and you know your market incredibly well and you stay on top of your category and you have the ability to think for yourself, which is something I've been trying to practice a lot lately, you can make these rapid fire decisions without needing anyone's input. So you can move a lot faster. Most often you come across plenty of great projects way before it catches the masses' attention. That's a good place to be in, and this is how many of the big wigs make most of their money. But yeah, I have nothing else to add. Hope you found this quick video valuable.